The Verdict, a Sidebar production, hosted by Kent Myers and Mick Cornett. As a part of its traditional and continuing commitment to public and community service, Crow & Dunlevy sponsors The Verdict. Also sponsored by Delta Dental, Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, and C.H. Guernsey & Company. Each week on The Verdict, we present an objective discussion of contemporary and legal issues, topical issues that will affect Oklahomans in their daily lives. The Verdict, a Sidebar production.
And welcome to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett, and I am joined, as always, by one of Oklahoma's top legal experts, Kent Myers. And Kent, today a special guest.
Special guest, we welcome back the Honorable Kirk Humphreys, Mayor of the City of Oklahoma City, for his fourth visit to The Verdict, because we want to find out what's going on in Oklahoma City. We want to find out what the state of Oklahoma City is at the current time, amid all that's going on, both budget and otherwise, around the country and in Oklahoma. The mayor is always generous with his time. He brings information to us that will be useful, I think, in letting our citizens plan for what's going to happen, if anything, to services in a tight budget year, what's going to happen in the future, how are current MAPS projects playing out. A lot of different things we want to talk to him about, and we're really pleased he'll join us again.
There's always something going on, isn't there?
In this big city, there is.
Well, this morning, Oklahoma City Mayor Kirk Humphreys will join us right here on The Verdict. We'll be right back.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
The Verdict is pleased to have as a sponsor C.H. Guernsey & Company, providing architectural and engineering services to clients throughout the U.S. and around the world.
American Express Tax and Business Services. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. American Express Tax and Business Services. In Oklahoma City, the phone number is 405-843-5311.
And Blankenship has stopped at the line of scrimmage. No gain on the play. Leading at 4th and 7 on the Tiger 46-yard line. 38 seconds on the clock. The Tigers have no choice but to go. Wiggins had to do the kicking. Here's the snap. And the kick's away.
All children deserve a life of hope and love. But sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all of the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. Oklahoma Lawyers for Children has over 350 of the best attorneys and volunteers in Oklahoma County who donate their time and services to represent children. For more information, call 405-23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, who's going to introduce our guest.
As I indicated earlier, we're very pleased to have the Honorable Kirk Humphreys back with us, the Mayor of the City of Oklahoma City. Kirk is the 34th Mayor of Oklahoma City, raised in Oklahoma City, educated here in through the high school level, University of Oklahoma graduate, into your second term as Mayor, and making your fourth appearance on The Verdict. And once again,
Well, it's great to be with you guys always.
we appreciate it. We're really grateful for you spending some time with us, because a lot of our viewing audience is in Oklahoma City, and they're interested in knowing what's going on, and I suspect Tulsa's interested as well.
Hope so.
You gave an address recently before a large crowd on the state of Oklahoma City. You said, in a nutshell, it's pretty darn good. Can you tell our viewers,
Sure.
what is the state?
Well, it is pretty good. Kent, it's not everything we'd like for it to be as far as the economy. The economy nationally is pretty soft. Our economy locally is about even with a year ago as far as city revenues. Unemployment is low. Oklahoma City has a lower unemployment than the state and the nation. Cities like Tulsa have struggled quite a bit because of some of their major employers, particularly Williams, is really going through a hard time. And so Tulsa's over 5% unemployment right now. But Oklahoma City is under 4% unemployment. We're not so much unemployed as we are underemployed. The area we really struggle in, and Mick, we deal with this all the time, but it's that our per capita income is lower. We're about 86% of the national average. And so what that means is it doesn't cost as much to live here, but we don't have as many dollars running through our economy. So,
well, focusing on that income thing, I read with some interest in your address that the 2000 figures, which
That's
I
right.
think was the most recent,
And
and
very
didn't look all that bad.
well, in the year 2000, that's the most recent figures that we have for this type of information. Our per capita personal income increased over 6%, 6.1%. And that was higher than the national average and higher than any of the other cities that we consider to be our peers. Cities like Fort Worth and San Antonio and Austin and Tulsa and Albuquerque and Memphis and Nashville, cities like that. So that's very encouraging. We're not where we want to be, but at least the trend looks like it's turned around. And that's
But it's not going the other way.
No, it's very encouraging.
Well, would you attribute that principally to the economic development activities of the city and the chamber and other agencies?
I would. You know, cities, a lot of times when you think about turning something around, if you're trying to turn around your own fortunes, well, it depends on whether you got a good job or not. But if you talk about turning a city around, that takes really decades. And you had a quote on the screen here about the differences, the people that you have.
Yeah.
That's right. You know, and if you're talking about turning a city around, it takes a long time of the right kind of leadership. I was fortunate when I came into office 5 years ago to follow Ron Norick, who'd been mayor for 11 years. And one of the reasons I was interested in running for mayor was because I liked what Ron had done and was grateful for that and challenged by that. But you look at cities like, in the state of the city I quoted, Raleigh, North Carolina, we talk about the Research Triangle. In 1959 was when they founded the Research Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. And and at the time, their per capita personal income was 85% of the national average. And it was 25 years before they topped out over the national average. And now they're well above the national average. Well, our resurgence as a city began 10 years ago with MAPS. In December of 1993, MAPS was approved. But it takes a long time. So what I said is we have the foundation laid.
Yes.
Now it's our job to build on that foundation.
Transportation's always an issue in the city, particularly if you're caught in a traffic jam. You start thinking about it. I know there's a good bit of discussion in the press, at least, and from our friend Burns Hargis, who's now leading the Oklahoma City Chamber, I think.
Burns is never at a loss for words.
No, and he
Great guy.
Great guy, and they do a great job on the show,
right.
although I never watch it. But I do watch it. But in any event, Burns talking about light rail. I hear people talking about light rail transportation. Can you tell our viewers what at least you understand that to be?
Light rail it's basically commuter rail. It's like in Dallas, if folks have been down there, they have a system called DART, and it runs up through North Dallas. And so in most cities, it's above ground, but it's commuter rail. And cities like, Atlanta has the MARTA system. That's their commuter rail system. So it's not high speed. It doesn't carry freight. Yeah. It just carries people commuting around the city. Oklahoma City is a city that's very convenient to get around in. But we do have some corridors. I-35 is one corridor down to Norman and then Broadway extension up to Edmond. That's increasingly difficult to keep ahead of the needs to expand that, keep the infrastructure ahead. And then, the connection between downtown Bricktown, the State Fair Park, and the I-40 Meridian hotels, and then out to the airport. Those are some of the primary areas where rail might be feasible. Now we had a light rail system in MAPS, in the original MAPS, and that did not get funded at the federal level, and so we went to the rubber tire trolleys since we didn't get the federal match. What we're going to have to do is look at this. We don't know if it's feasible. We don't know what the cost would be, But I do think, I applaud Burns and the Chamber for asking the questions and dreaming and, you know, pressing forward. And that's what I mean. When we've laid a foundation, we don't want to just sit on the foundation and say, my, what a wonderful foundation. We want to build on it.
Yep.
Got the foundation in place, maybe light rail's the next step. Of course, maps for kids is something that we're just off and running on, but as we look beyond that, what's the next step? Light rail is something we're going to look at.
We read a lot about budget shortfalls. Mick, you have to deal with that as being a member of the council. What should the residents of Oklahoma City anticipate, if anything, in the way of a diminution in services that have previously been available that might not be available or might be changed as a result of a decreasing budget?
Well, where we are in the city is, and it changes every month. This month we had a bad sales tax check.
This was December, right?
We had the December activity, we got the check in February, so Christmas sales.
Right.
And our sales tax was down about $1 million below last year. And our use tax, which is similar to sales tax but for non-retail items, was down about $400,000. That's the most disappointing month we've had. And prior to that, we were about even with last year on revenues, which is not what city staff likes. But you know, if I got to have hard times, I'll take that compared to a lot of other people. Our hard times have not been as bad as the state. The state's down over 7% in revenue. School district's down like 12% in revenue. So I'd take flat revenues, but now we're down a little bit, and we're going to have to trim some things. I don't think it'll be draconian, but they'll see some cutback in levels of service in some areas.
Long term, do you think cities will have to find other ways to fund themselves, or do you think the current system, which largely relies on sales tax, is going to be adequate?
I think the current system is great in the good times and not very good in the hard times, and so I think it's probably not the best system. The county lives primarily on property tax. The city lives primarily on sales tax. I think you'd do better to have a revenue-neutral system to where the city could diminish the sales tax some and have some property tax. It'd take some of the peaks and valleys out of it, and I think that'd be better. Not raise the level of taxes, but change the sources of those. And you know, quite frankly, in Oklahoma, we are a lightly taxed state on property tax and a heavily taxed state on sales tax.
Let me get us to a break. We're visiting with the mayor of Oklahoma City, Kirk Humphreys. You're watching The Verdict.
We are so pleased to congratulate Crow and Dunleavy for their support of the arts and culture in our community and the whole state of Oklahoma. Particularly, we are pleased that they have given us the opportunity to promote the Arts Power campaign on the television show so that we may bring art and music teachers back to our elementary schools all over the state of Oklahoma. Happy anniversary, Crow Dunleavy. We are proud of you.
St. Gregory's University has been changing the lives of people like me for 125 years. Affordable private Catholic education, balanced with dedication to community and service, makes St. Gregory special. We're extremely proud of our students' outstanding academic achievements and our nationally ranked athletic teams. It's when you help a student build a future of balance, integrity, and service that you change a life forever. St. Gregory's, a community for life.
We are C.H. Guernsey & Company. We provide engineering, architecture, and consulting services to clients across the nation and around the world. Our corporate headquarters are located in Oklahoma City, and we have branch offices across the country, including Tulsa. We have provided quality service to clients for nearly 75 years. At Guernsey, we believe in quality work and unconditional client satisfaction. To learn more about C.H. Guernsey & Company, log on to our website at chguernsey.com.
I enrich our cultural landscape.
I help define our quality of life.
I am one of 4,000 artists in central Oklahoma who receive
support from Allied Arts, this community's united arts organization.
I am an Allied artist.
Mick Cornett and Kent Myers back as always on The Verdict. Today we're talking to Oklahoma City Mayor Kirk Humphreys about a variety of issues. Kent, where are we going to go now?
You used the word in our first segment, maps, and I'd like for you to give our citizens a little update report card on first maps and then maps for kids. Just kind of
great. Well,
as you'd like to.
Maps, we're 10 years into maps. I mean, it was approved 10 years ago by the voters. Opened the first project 5 years ago, the ballpark. 9 projects, and this year all of them will be completed. The last 2 to be completed are the library, where we've had some problems with the wall panels on that, but that's settled now. And then the river project, where we have 3 dams. You see water in the river, and it's really beautiful to drive down on I-35. Those will be completed this year. Kent will have we'll have all the projects paid for, no debt, and about $20 million in a reserve and operating fund. So MAPS has just been a huge home run, and has really helped turn the city around.
And the prior mayor, Mayor Norick, and prior councils were kind of
it was
far-sighted in doing
They were far-sighted. They were politically
and
courageous. Took a lot of courage and political capital on their part. And MAPS was controversial the first 5 years or so until we opened the ballpark, and that seemed to change the feeling about MAPS. And I think there's a lot of pride in Oklahoma City, and we believe that's been money that has been well invested in our city.
No question. What about Maps for Kids?
Well, Maps for Kids, of course, was passed in November of 2001. It provides about $690 million in funding for capital improvements, buildings, buses, technology, primarily for Oklahoma City schools, but about 20% of that goes to 23 suburban districts, so benefits every school district that helps Oklahoma City children. It's off to a good start. We set up something different this time, but we set up a city trust that handles all the money, and these are people that know what they're doing in building and development and construction. We're hiring the first architects for the first high school jobs. They've selected the site for John Marshall, but you'll see Douglas High School, U.S. Grant High School, Star Spencer, John Marshall. Those will be coming up out of the ground here in the coming months, and they're already parceling out money to the suburban districts too to make improvements in those districts. One important clarification: people say, why can't we take Maps for Kids dollars and buy supplies or pay teachers? And
yes,
in Oklahoma state school finance, there's a wall, and on one side is the general fund that you pay salaries and operations out of and supplies. The other side is capital budgets, and that's buildings and technology. And Maps for Kids on the capital side. We can deal with buildings by state law. We can't go over into the general fund and pay operations.
It's going the sales tax.
It's tracking along pretty well with what we anticipate. Slightly under, but we're still in great shape on Maps for Kids. And there again, it's going to take several years. But I'll tell you what, when we open these brand new high schools, and when folks see a new school building expanded or renovated, they're really going to take a lot to in that, and it's really going to make a difference in our neighborhoods. And
it's an economic development opportunity
absolutely.
too. I mean.
Well, schools are, you know what people want when they're looking at a place to locate their business. The most important thing is they want a low crime rate. They want to be safe. Number 2 is they want quality public schools. And so people realize that a city that invests, these quotes about the people in the city that you run in the breaks are right. A city that invests in its children is a city that people want to live in. It's very important.
You can read about some fairly ancient history in Oklahoma City and read a lot about the council not getting along and the mayor not getting along with the council and so on. It seems to me that not only does our council get along, I mean, they have differences of opinion, but they respect each other.
But we're not disagreeable when we do it,
no.
Like it was in times past.
And I see the city reaching out. I'd like you to comment on this, reaching out to the Oklahoma City School District and other school districts and doing some things to cooperate with other...
Well, not only school districts, but other municipalities, the county, other cities across the state. We truly are all in this together. We had a presentation this week from Roy Williams with the Greater Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce, and they are now taking steps to look at economic development on a central Oklahoma basis, 10 counties. About a 50-mile radius from downtown Oklahoma City, so it'd go out to Seminole County and
Purcell,
McLean County, and it basically, if it helps one part of the metro, it helps everybody.
Yeah.
And so it's not just that we want economic development to take place on one side of a municipal boundary line. We really need to all work together, and it's very encouraging what's taking place there.
Well, a lot can happen with cooperation, and a lot negative can happen without cooperation.
You know, when a corporation's looking at coming to an area, they look at coming to Oklahoma City as this large area, this large metro. They don't look at, gee, I'm going to locate in the city, but sure not in Edmond, or sure not north. They don't think that way. They look at the whole picture, and we need to look at the whole picture. And we're all working together very well, and I'm very encouraged by that.
Speaking of cooperation, I read something recently about the State Fair Board, and the city being involved in a cooperative effort. Tell our viewers what that's about.
That's about really a long-term master plan for the State Fair. Our State Fair Park is a huge economic generator through horse shows. We have the leading horse show venue in the United States there. But the problem is, even though we're at the head of the pack right now as far as the shows we have, a lot of cities watch that, and a lot of cities have invested a lot of money in their facilities. And so there's some cities really that are going to pass us if we maintain present position. State Fair Board has gone out and developed a long-term master plan, $105 million price tag, which is a lot of money, but in the grand scope of things, it's a reasonable number. And so they presented that this week to the Hotel Motel Association. And there's talk about how do we fund this? Part of it might be a hotel motel tax. Part is going to be private donations. Part might be the State Fair users who step up and pay part of it, the groups that use the State Fair. And then part might be some city or county money. We haven't identified the funding yet, but as we move toward the fall, that probably will come into place, and I think it's something that we need to do to maintain that position, that important horse show business.
Well, I think some people see the State Fair as what it is, and they don't realize what it could be. And when you talk about how important location is, you have a site that's centrally located in Oklahoma City, centrally located in the state, centrally located in the nation, and also along I-44 and I-40.
Yeah, 2 interstate highways.
You know, that real estate is extremely valuable, and it's underused right now. Even though we have a lot of things going on down there, we could do a lot more.
We need to do a lot more, and this would not just patch and fix up the State Fair. It would really move us to a level totally on our own, and we need to do that, and that would solidify our position, probably improve our position with our horse show events.
About 45 seconds left.
What's the future hold for Kirk Humphreys? I just can't resist asking that.
Well, it beats me. And I'll probably be mayor till someone beats me. But no, in this business, it's really different than the business world. You take it 3-4 years at a time. I've got 3 years left in this term. I'm still having fun. We do have a great council to work with, and so we'll take it like that.
We really appreciate you joining us again.
You bet. Great to be with you.
Thanks, Mayor.
You bet.
Kent and I'll be back with a few final words right after this.
Bringing out the best in each student. That is the simple goal and tradition of Heritage Hall. The focus on the individual shapes the educational experience at Heritage Hall. Each student benefits from small classes, able, dedicated teachers, a solid academic curriculum, and exceptional co-curricular programs of athletics, arts, community service, and other activities, parental involvement, personalized counseling, and the development of responsibility, integrity, and love of learning. If you want education taught with pride, then you want Heritage Hall.
American Express Tax and Business Services. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. American Express Tax and Business Services. In Oklahoma City, the phone number is 405-843-5311.
Think being a big brother means taking time out of your schedule to tutor a kid in algebra? Think again. To learn more about becoming a big brother or big sister, call 1-888-412-BIGS.
We're back on The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers to wrap it up.
You hear the phrase, how are you doing? And you say, well, as compared to what? How's Oklahoma City doing? As the mayor said, pretty darn good. As compared to how other cities are doing, we may not be doing as well as we'd like, but apparently Oklahoma City is progressing very nicely. It's really nice of the mayor to give us some more of his time. He's got a busy schedule, and we appreciate him visiting with us about these various projects. He's a mayor of a very big city. I know Oklahoma City's big. I guess you have to deal with that on the council. You got a lot of area to cover.
Well, there's always one more street to pave. I think that's one thing you learn. Yeah, a couple of points about how big Oklahoma City is. First of all, Ward 4 is the southeastern section of Oklahoma City. Lake Stanley Draper is in the western part of that ward. In other words, there's more of Ward 4 on the other side. It goes all the way out to the Old Germany restaurant, you know, which is just south of Choctaw.
Yes.
Canadian County. The Oklahoma City is the most populous city in Canadian County. I don't think a lot of people realize how much of Oklahoma City leaves Oklahoma County, and to have the job that Kirk Humphreys does and be able to deliver like he does, I think is really admirable.
Well, in square miles covered by our geographic boundary,
Yeah,
we're
620, I think, 620 square
and
miles.
we're what, second, third in the nation?
Third largest, I believe.
Third largest in the nation.
Yeah, and it's a tough. It makes it tough on a city to be run.
Well, Oklahoma City is progressing. Seems like under obviously good leadership, yourself included, and we want our viewers to know that next week we will have the Honorable Brad Henry, Governor of the state of Oklahoma, on to discuss what's going on with the state of the state.
Can't wait. Kent, thanks. Good job. Thanks again to our guest, Oklahoma City Mayor Kirk Humphreys. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next time on The Verdict.